Good afternoon, everybody. We've got Angelika with us today, and she's going to tell us a few things that have been happening with her business over the last few months. So, hi, Angelika. Good to
Hi,
see
Rob.
you. Tell us what your business is, first of all. Not everybody might be aware of that. And before this lockdown period, how were things going with the business?
Yeah, so most of our church know I'm running a small bakery, and I started about 2 years ago. It was all quite new to me because I'm not a trained baker, so I really had to learn everything from scratch. And I did a little bit of artisan trading before I started the bakery to actually see if I can do it, because I was trained as an occupational therapist. We don't do start businesses and we don't do baking on a big
No.
scale. So Um, we, I started the bakery about 2 years ago after I had a television appearance and thought, it might be a good time now to start, that a few more people have heard about me. I geared up for the bakery, started it, and then it was very quiet because we are tucked away on a car park, but not quite on the high street. So it was only word of mouth.
Yeah.
And if you are a startup, you won't have a massive amount of advertising budget ready to
Mhm.
blast all over Bolton. There is a new bakery, please come. So it was
Yeah.
very quiet, and we just scrapped through each month, covered the cost, had a little bit of wholesale going on, and we were two people, me and Anna, working in the bakery. And that was it till before COVID. And I was always thinking,
Right.
how can I ever grow this little bit more to get to the next step?
Yes. So when something like COVID came along with its lockdown, it could have been the death knell for your business, but I gather actually that's not what happened. So tell us what difference that made.
Could have been, but because I always trusted God with that business and had said from the beginning, this is God's business.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I always said, okay, God, what's the next challenge? And as I as I was always praying, just how do we get to the next step? I'm still not making money. I'm just covering the costs, but there's not a lot more in. So when COVID came along, my flour provider, he said there will be shortages in the shops because the packaging industry will not be able to pack all these little packets. People will need. So I said, okay, then I get a few more sacks of flour in the bakery and we can hand pack them, and whoever needs flour can
Mhm.
come. And then I just put that on Facebook. And Facebook, when you put a photo in, there's a little orange bar underneath, and it just tells you how many people have seen the post. So this little bar, it just went higher and higher and higher. Usually it's about, I would say, 300 to 500 people who've seen my posts in the past. And that post, everybody tagged everybody in, and it just went bonkers. It went 1,000, 2,000,
Wow.
5,000, 10,000. And then we
Yeah.
reached about 11,000 people who have seen it within 3 days,
Gosh.
and loads of people came. And because the
Yeah.
pressure of having no flour and everybody started baking just sent people to my bakery, and suddenly there were
Mhm.
so many people coming. It was just, we were packing and packing and flour packing, and there were massive queues outside, and I felt a little bit like an East German Cold War
Yeah.
shop, because in East Germany, in the olden days, behind the Iron Curtain, they never had loads of things in the shops.
Yeah.
And what they had, a lot of people were queuing for that. So first people
Mm.
queued a long time for getting in my shop. And once they were in, there were barely anything on the shelves because we suddenly were
Mm.
overwhelmed with so many people.
Wow.
And the
Wow.
little manpower we had for doing our little nice bits was just not enough. So we focused just on our core products,
Yeah.
pretzel, apple strudel, or strudel and sourdough bread, and then sold the flour. And it just went on and on.
Mm.
I
Wow.
had probably about 2 months, almost every day, apart from Sundays, was about 100 hours work a week. Within over 2 months, it was
Gosh.
horrendous.
Wow. And people weren't just coming for flour, maybe initially for flour, but they were buying other things like pretzels as well.
I mean, we had to learn fast. So
Yes.
I had to stock up manpower. We got an extra person permanent staff. Then I got a handful of pupils who just did the flour packing. And that went probably for 3 4 weeks. We just couldn't catch up
Mhm.
with anything in the shop apart from flour,
Yes.
pretzels, sourdough bread, and that
Yes.
the strudel, that was it. And then it started calming down. So by the end of May, I would say it started calming down a bit. And then we were able, with more manpower, to do a bit more. And then people came back, and it was just a massive advertising. Yeah, at one point, I think we needed about 2 weeks to recover from this initial Facebook post, just to get our breath back. And then we said, okay, now we know what's going to happen if we do something like that. So I dared to put it out a second time. And within 24 hours, we had over 20,000 people who seen the post. So it went even bigger. And then Bolton News thought they're going to do us a favor. They just nicked it from Facebook, put it straight into the newspaper. I had no idea about that. The next morning, a customer came in and said, oh yeah, I just read in the newspaper, you are selling flour and yeast. Is that true? And I said, yeah, we do, but actually nobody has spoken to me, so I can't imagine that's in the newspaper. And said, no, I can show you. So she showed me the online version, and really it was in there. I was, as much as I was happy about that, I was so unprepared. And of course, more people came, and my flour was gone in one day, what was carefully planned for the next 3 days. And yeah, it was just absolutely amazing.
So now things have settled down a bit, and some flour is more readily available in supermarkets. Where are things now? They've not gone back to how they were before.
For my bakery, it was a kind of quantum leap from really, I would say, even now that everything has calmed down, we are still about 5-6 times higher than we were before. Also multiplied our income times 5. And that has probably come down from 10-11 times over what we did before COVID. So that was just amazing. And now we manage what we have. The shelves are full again. I took on another staff and have extra help on Saturdays, and it's just getting to a so different level. And at times I was just thinking, it's a bit like when Jesus was preaching and they had nothing to eat. I looked into my till by the end of the day, I was wondering, why on earth, if there's so much money coming in, we barely have anything done. It was just like having, oh, here we got 2 fish and 5 bread. And by the end of the day, everybody was filled, got what they wanted. The cash was there. And I was just thinking, how on earth were we able to do with so little manpower, getting all these things done? It was absolutely miraculous. Because previously with 2 people, we just covered that little what we've done, and it was so much more. It was just mind-blowing.
Yes. You said at the beginning, you've always seen this is God's business, like God's project. So you probably said it already, really, but what lessons do you think that you've learned about God through all of this last few months?
I mean, one thing what went through my head at times as well, I wasn't trained in that trade. I wasn't trained as a baker. I just got experience a little bit here and there. And it reminded me of David. When David was a little boy, God betrusted him with a little bit. And he was faithful, just herding the sheep, playing the flute, chasing away the lions, chasing away the wolves, and just keeping his little flock safe. And he was the youngest one amongst the brothers. Nobody was thinking big things of him. But because he was faithful in these little things, then God was able to step it up and step it up and step it up. And wherever he went, he got betrusted a bit more. Then he became servant of the king. And at the end, he became king because God knew he can trust him. I think if I look at David, I try to avoid a few mistakes he still did. So I hope God can spare me these experiences.
Yes.
But apart from that, he was a great man, and he started with very little. And just being faithful to God and waiting for the time God will provide. He guided me through these 2 years when we had very little, and the circumstances were always right, and always out of the blue things came, and we just scraped through when we had another difficult situation, and I didn't have to give up, and it was just enough. And now we've got, in a way, plentiful, and now we've got more responsibility. One of the things we raised about £470 so far for the hospice in Bolton.
Wonderful.
Just by offering in all these baking trays, whoever wants to start with sourdough baking, and everybody had the time for that suddenly. we offered to give away sourdough starters with an information sheet, and then there were loads of online tutorials how to do sourdough bread. And we just asked for, just donate a little bit for the hospice.
Mm.
And over these probably 2 months, we almost raised these £500.
Oh, that's so
And
good.
people come now back, said it worked well, and they love it.
Yes.
And yeah, it's
wonderful.
we just love it.
I remember a group of us coming when you first moved into your premises to pray. So maybe the answer didn't come at the time we were looking for and expected, but God has certainly come through in the right time, in an unexpected way.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I can,
Yes.
if you have a vision and if you have this feeling in your tummy, this kind of peace, there is a chance you can make it. It's not bonkers, although it's scary. Just go for it. Go step by step, never risk too much, so you're still somehow stay safe. But I think even if you sometimes risk too much, we can always trust and fall back on God, that He put our pieces together and put us, if we are devastated with whatever hits us, that He can put us together. And it's never ever the end of anything. They will just open another door. He will put us together. We have gained experience, and we can take, even of terrible situations, we can take the best out and bring it into the future. It's an experience, whether it's good or bad. It gets us closer to God at times. It might come along with some pain sometimes, but we're always on God's side, and God is with us. And that's what I just appreciate. I never know what's coming around the corner. And throughout this time, I appreciate, I met so many people, and you have contact to so many people. It's just lovely, and I just like it. I met lots of people from our church who came along, so I was probably the least isolated person. And so far, I've not heard that anybody in my surrounding ever caught the virus and got ill. And we just got so blessed, and I absolutely love it.
Well, that's a wonderful story. So I'm sure everybody would be really encouraged by that. So thank you very much, Angelika.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We look forward to seeing what's going to happen in the months and years to come as well.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to come shopping and meet a few more people, just come along. Or if you need a sourdough, because you still might think you have too much time on your hands, come and get one.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Rob.
Just tell people the name of your bakery in case they don't know it, and they can look on Facebook.
Yeah, it's Pretzel and Spelt, and I'm very active on Facebook. And anybody who needs and wants something, or needs somebody to surprise with some nice bakes, I'm happy to drive them and get them there. There's always a way.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye now.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.